In this lesson, we're going to briefly define what a radian is. And so it all kind of based off of the unit circle. So a unit circle is a circle with a radius of 1. And so the idea of a radian is we're going to take this length right here, and we're going to basically wrap it around the circumference and see how many times we can do that. So it's a rough estimate. So if you take that length and you kind of wrap it around, you might get something like that. You might get something like that. And then I'm supposed to get something like that. I kind of messed it up a little bit. But here's the idea that if you went all the way around and you did this, and if I was able to do this perfect, it would take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a little bit to get around. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that we just talked about a circumference. So a circumference, the formula for circumference is 2 pi r. Well, if you have a radius of 1, your radius, basically that's going to go away. So you're looking at a circumference of 2 pi r. And the decimal approximation of that is 6.28. So it's not at all a coincidence that if you were to take that radius and wrap it around the circle, it's going to take you 6.28 radii to get all the way around the circle. So, basically, if you went all the way around, started off with 0, and you went all the way around, if you went all the way around, that would be 2 pi, which is also 6.28. So if you went halfway around, that would be taking the half of the circumference, so pi, but it also would take 3.14, because that's what pi is. So it's just a little bit over 3. And then if you did a fourth of the way or 3/4 of the way, you'd have some decimal values for that as well. So here's the big idea of this, is that there's a proportion, a ratio between a radian measurement and a degree measurement. So radian is more of a circumference of a circle, where a degree is breaking a circle into 360 equal little parts. So if you were to go 360 degrees, then you would be talking about all the way around the circle, which is 1 circumference. If you were to go halfway around, then you would be looking at half the circumference. So these are equivalent to each other. So if this is a degree version, this is the radian version. So if you cut this in half again, go 90 degrees, then you're cutting this in half. If you were to cut this in half again, then you would cut this in half. So from pi to pi over 2 is you're taking 1, taking half of it, now you're taking half of the half. So that's going to get you a pi over 4. And then these are very, very common. These will show up in trig. Another common one is if we were to do 30 degrees, that's like taking a third of 90. So a third of pi over 2 would be pi over 6. And then another very, very common one is 60. So if you have 60 degrees, it's actually 2 of these. So that would be a 2 pi over 6, which would be pi over 3. These show up all the time, especially on non-calculator kinds of things. You're going to be doing sine, cosines, and tangents of these angles, and you can refer to them as degree measurements, but you can also refer to them as radians. They're equivalent. So there's some going forwards and backwards that definitely will be happening within radian measurements. But the biggest thing is that radian is a circumference measurement. So it's kind of a length, more of a length idea than just a broken up fraction of a circle. All right, and that was a definition or radian measurement defined.